Hello to everyone. We are going to talk today about Poland and their political and electoral processes, because Ukraine want to be a part of European Union, and our neighbor somehow is a picture for this corridor from our post-Soviet Union area to European Union. But we are a little bit shocked what's this going on with their elections and their parliamentary processes, which has connection with pandemia and which has connections with the future presidential election. That's why we ask our partners from the Poland, Kshиштофом Іздєбским, and he is the political director of ePanststo, very well-known organization in Poland, and our long-term partner, to talk us a little bit more about the Poland and political process there. First of all, tell us a few things about ePanststo.
Okay, hello again, nice to hear from you. Thank you for inviting me for an interview. It's a great opportunity to talk about elections, and actually I'm only tell for 1 second that actually we still don't know what it will be like, although there are planned for 10th of May. But coming back to the ePanststo Foundation, we are a civic tech organization, so we try to use technology for common good. We're working a lot in the sphere of transparency, anti-corruption, increasing public participation, and we try also to involve technology to support these processes. And for in the context of our interview, we are also working in the area of elections. We were observing elections, and we are deploying some technological tools together with our partners from Romania as well, and Russia. So we have a knowledge and an expertise. I'm also myself an expert in the electoral law, and specifically when it comes to the social or civic control over the election process. But as I was saying, Olga, I'm kind of helpless. I mean, this is what's going on in Poland now is something that, like, I think no one is prepared, of course, including the government itself. And it's a very chaotic process. It's a process that is not transparent to anyone. And I'm happy to explain more about it, but the general thing which is really worrying is that we have today, there's a second part of April, and elections are due on 10th of May, and we have no idea how they're gonna look.
Okay, and we are living in the era of e-technophilia, that it's very fashionable to talk about e-voting, to use new technologies and so on and so forth. But Poland is going to vote through post. And it's a totally for whole auditory, for whole voters. They will not have any other type of voting except this post voting. How you can explain why post voting, not e-voting?
Okay, so first of all, actually, it's not yet decided. I mean, there is a legal act which is going through the parliament, was accepted by the lower chamber, the Sejm, but still have to be accepted by the Senate, and the Senate has 30 days. With this calendar, it's the beginning of the May, so just a few days before the actual date of elections. So actually, we're not yet sure whether the post-elections gonna happen. And then also the majority, the ruling majority, Law and Justice Party, they introduced also the proposal on changing the Polish constitution to prolong the term of the president. So in Poland, you have 5 years, but what they're suggesting now is like, let's have a voting of changing the constitution and prolong the term up to 7 years. So next 2 years. So actually still, we don't know, maybe there will be no elections at the end. But yes, the proposal on the table now is the post elections, and maybe it's even better than e-voting, because I mean, it would be a great catastrophe with e-voting. Because, of course, I mean, still, we are, as a technological organization, we don't feel that Poland and large parts of the world actually are prepared for e-voting as such for many reasons. But for sure, if you want to deploy such a process, you have to prepare it very, very well, not in several weeks. So you could imagine that the post-elections, post-voting is easier. But again, I mean, we're living in the times of pandemic, as you said. The post office is working, you know, in not on regular basis. I mean, I even, you know, have, as an individual, I have a problem to receive a letter from someone, right? So we're talking about sending the voting packages to each of the Polish person which is entitled to take part in the elections. We're talking about 30 million voting packages to be sent for all the Poland, and as this logistical part of the process, I think it's impossible to do, especially that still the law is not in the force. The other problem is that actually the State Electoral Commission is excluded from the process. This is the one of the minister who is responsible for the post office. Actually, he's the one who should design. I mean, of course, someone else would do it, but he designed the actual election chart, but also organize every part of the logistics behind it. And still, we don't know the details. So, for example, we don't know what kind of the ballot box would be there. What is the process of giving back our votes? So, from this the postal package we would get, where I should go, because what we know now is like there will be no mailman coming to me to get the vote, the vote back, and the same I will find the electoral package not given me by the mailman, so no confirmation of my identity, but I will find that in my mailbox, which is also like crazy, especially that in some areas, some buildings, you know how they look, probably the same as everywhere in some surroundings. They're just like open, or they're not protected in any sense. And especially you can have like a, you know, very detailed thing. Like you have a very small post box, right? But like there's 7 people living in the flat, and like how you would feed it, even with the packet. So a lot of questions that we don't have an answer for, but they decided to go through the post voting because they're claiming, and maybe they're right, that it's much safer in the context of pandemic. But whether it's doable, I don't think so.
What do you think? Why? What was the reason of this chaos? Because many other countries in EU, few other countries in EU, like France, like post-EU country UK, decided to postpone election. Why your election wasn't postponed till autumn, for example?
Oh, this is purely political reason. The connection also with pandemic, of course, and economy. Because now we have this moment that the people like trust the government. We have this moment of pandemia that the ruling party and the president, who is also representing the ruling majority, have pretty good public opinion polls, because the people are looking for, you know, the strong government in hard times. But in a couple of months, we will face an economic crisis, and it doesn't depend on how well the government's gonna cope with this. But this is some tendency that we can expect when there is this economic crisis. The people will probably look for the alternative solutions. So the government and the president himself, they're not really sure that in autumn the opinion polls will be as satisfactory for them as they are now. So that's the main reason, and they're using this opportunity to be elected for the next 5 years, maybe even in the first round, because the results are better. And also, which is very important in this context, this is not only about the act of voting. The election is a much bigger process, as you know, right? So it already started 2 months ago. And one of the golden rules of the electoral campaign is that everyone has an equal access to the campaign, meaning every candidate has an equal access. But this is not the case for last weeks, because you can't organize any public gathering. We have, and this is also very important and sad, Polish context, the public media are completely owned by the government now, and they're doing the governmental propaganda all the time. So only the actual presidents connected with the government can perform some sort of a campaign, also because he is in the office, and of course he's exploiting the fact. So the other candidates are pretty invisible in the sense. So this is a very good opportunity to perform elections, because you don't have alternative. The elections so far, they're not fair, but it doesn't matter. What matters is to win the elections, and this is the great opportunity for the government to.
But you mentioned about this idea to postpone the term in office of current president for 2 years. Is it acceptable for society, and what is the general reaction of society and opposition for all of these activities, ideas, and decisions?
Yes, also very important, I think, the Polish context is that the government has not decided to introduce one of these extraordinary states that we have in Constitution. So everything which is done now with all the restrictions is going through the normal legislation, which is, in my opinion, and the opinion of a lot of experts, it's not good according to the Constitution. Because when the extraordinary or emergency state would be introduced, then there is an obligation to postpone elections, for example, for autumn at that point. But they have not decided to do it, as we told. So, and this is when you're asking what's the opinion of the people or the opposition, the people say, introduce the state of emergency, because we have a state of emergency. And actually, we have one, but not officially. And then postpone elections for a better time. So the proposal of changing the constitution, which is, again, not possible if the state of emergency is introduced, is perceived as some other kind of a trick from the side of the government, saying that, okay, you not want us to make an elections in May, then you will see we'll stay another 2 years at the office and prolong. So there's this not much positive reaction, I would say, from the side of the opposition and the people, because it is concerned as the part of the political game, not the actual concern about the necessity of conducting elections.
I can't assess distantly your election, but it looks like total misuse of administrative resource in each of the branches of the power, in each of the steps of this campaigning and so on. And last question about social media. How it looks like now? Is it only one source for communication with the voters from different candidates, or they have another?
No, actually, this is all what stays. I mean, on the larger scale, of course. I mean, you can try to be in the traditional media, try to be in the private TV, but of course, when it comes to the direct connection between with the voters, the social media is the reason. But and even though when some people were claiming that the election campaign is not fair, the government response was like, oh, they can always go to the other candidates. They can always go to social media and then connect with citizens. But it's like completely not fair. I mean, there's also the principle of the universality of elections, and this also means that everyone has at least a chance to hear what other candidates can do it. And social media is our world, I would say, right? So we're like NGOs, activists, some parts of the country, age, etc. But this is not something that even majority of voters are using. And this is, we cannot call it as a fair way to introduce a program, but also to have the knowledge from the side of the voters on the opinions of the candidates. So social media is the only way, but I feel it still does not give us something that we can call a fair elections in the end.
Okay, and will you have any international or local observation mission in your country closer to May, or everything is under control of the power groups?
Exactly, everything is under the control of the ministry, and then this is also like not only the State Electoral Commission, which is an independent body, although not getting into details, still a bit less than some years ago, is being actually put on the back track. What we're having now is the government preparing the elections, and we don't have any guarantee, and there's no provision in these new laws that are being introduced now of any form of the civic control over elections. So the close of the electoral code that we have on the civic observation, it's not working now, and it's not only a matter of the provisions, but the way with the posting. The post voting, it's even impossible in practice, because usually you can check a lot of things while being present at the venue where the election is coming, but not we're performing. But here, there's no possibility. I mean, there's some. We were thinking with our organization, I mean, how we can do it, because I still believe it is important and we want to do something with this. But, some ideas that's like, we're going to sit in the car next to this post box where the votes will be there. But okay, what can we really check? Maybe some turnout there? I don't know. I mean, this is very restricted. So that's why I think there is a big risk of e-voting in general and post-voting, also because of the lack of the effective ways of observation.
Thank you, Kshistov, and I wish you good luck even in this situation, and good luck in your fighting for free and fair elections, because elections is not only e-day, but this whole campaigning is more even important than the voting time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Olga. Take care. Good luck. Bye.